bring us into it.
Can you hear that now?
I can hear that.
Nice. This is Clutch from Psychic Warfare, the album. Everybody settle in. This is a long intro here. You need to go get a cup of coffee or a beer?
It was the morning of All Saints Day 98 when that old blind dog started roaming around the graveyard. Wouldn't have bothered me so much, worry not walking on his hind legs and smoking cigars. Recite my lineage and genealogy, you've got to know your history, son of Virginia. Everybody's in the church believing they're a sinner and looking for a sign from the true son of Virginia.
I gotta wait till the beat kicks in.
When the storm blew over, we made our way to the old Hay to infiltrate the sarcophagus. By the dim light of a narrow window, we saw the God's honest truth staring right back at us.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah,
Welcome to
good morning.
podcast season 1, episode 6. All of a sudden, on this Sunday, April 24th of the year 2022, amid mandates being released and ended in our society, but we keep going. So it's Dwayne here, your usual host, with his good buddy Jan Soleil.
Yar.
And we're just going to do a two-part on the Illuminati card games because we find it very interesting and relevant information, really, you know. So I'll let you share a screen here.
Woo.
If you want to go ahead and
Yeah,
pull up
man.
the card game, and we'll just we have nothing planned here at all, just off the cuff talking. And so honestly, we had nothing else to talk about today, but
That's not true. You had this great plan, man.
I did.
Don't make me read that text. That was a really good plan. We just didn't have enough time to put it together. That's all.
All right.
I do want to address
I
that
love the
stuff though.
look.
That's hot stuff. We're
I love the
finally
look.
getting the stuff I really like.
Yeah, buddy, this background image, I just love that shit.
Yeah, right. You know what? While we're here, then, since you mentioned that, I want to just go to this area here and notice how California is an island,
Yeah.
right? Now, there is an explanation for this, oddly enough, that they claim. And they claim that the initial cartographer that went there, I forget who it was. It was maybe Magellan or something. I don't remember exactly. I'm just going off the cuff, right? So anyhow, he made the mistake, and then each person afterwards, who didn't do much because this is pre-Columbus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who didn't do much exploration there. They didn't have, essentially they didn't go out and investigate for themselves. They merely took the work of someone else. And it does look like it was Magellan because look at the bottom here.
Yeah.
It says Magellan, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that just propagated. No one actually investigated. And then it was until, some centuries later, essentially that it was changed. Now, was it changed as a result of the change of the actual verification? Or was it changed as a result of a suppression of what actually happened? Some type of flood event, because it does appear that the strait there is named and called, and I mean this is pretty definitive. You know what I mean?
Well, that would be the Baja Peninsula there, I think, is what they're depicting.
Lower Mexico, right? And instead of attaching it to Lower Mexico, there, you see that
Yeah.
It's attached higher.
Yeah.
So that's
Right. Yeah.
essentially the claim that's being made.
Actually, it looks like it connects up at the top near where I am on the west
Correct.
coast of British Columbia, which is,
Correct.
and then nothing else up in that area, which we know that people did go up that way, but maybe not as early as Magellan.
Right. Well, but what they're saying is there was an error in the initial scribing of it, and then that error propagated until somebody
Right.
actually verified and corrected it in that whole
Right.
section.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful image. I think I've even used that in one of our videos from way back.
And while we're here, if we move to the right side here, you'll notice this entire Asian area is one color, extending even into the Philippines and beyond that, into what looks like whatever is over here. All right. So this is all one color, which also extends to the other side over here, Asia, and makes almost land contact with whatever this is,
Whatever
and
that
thereby
is.
making contact with America. So the Russia to America connection here is right here. You see it?
Yeah.
Right. So this is, and
Yeah.
this is all this land was labeled under Grand Tartary.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So you had that. Look at this. It even says Mole, Mongol, Magog.
Yeah.
And I believe those were descendants of Japheth, right? As per was stated in the Bible and the Table of Nations when it was split up, right?
Yeah, that's very interesting that it's all considered one there in that map.
Yeah, just giant area here. No Russia. You had Muscovia, which was a different region, which is the Russia, which is where Russia started. You had Muscovite Empire, right?
Yeah.
And then that somehow, when the Romanovs took office, that somehow these guys commingled and all this Grand Tartary disappeared.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We can see how quickly we can get sidetracked by just a simple map.
Yeah. Well, I like putting cool stuff on the
Hey,
website.
man.
Anyway,
I
so
love
here we are back to the Illuminati card game.
Yes.
Let's go ahead, open up the full 412 card full deck. I think ultimately what we would like to do is put these things in order, because they told us what happened before, what's happening now, and what's going to happen. And once these are all in the correct order, all 412 of them, you could basically do a play-by-play.
That would be about as valuable information as you could have right now if you
Out of this
were able to predict their next move.
just so quickly, if we,
Hey,
Yeah.
make that image bigger.
Okay, yeah.
Like I think you just need to, yeah, you can
How's
do that.
that?
Or
How's that?
yeah, I think that's as big as we can make the window itself, right?
Yeah.
Because we have our double gallery picture there on the right. So
Yeah. But this is pretty big,
maybe
right?
just maybe a little closer, then we can
All
read
right.
it.
How
Yeah.
about that?
Yep.
You digging that? All right, we
Yep.
did these last time, so let's
Yep.
just move on.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go to next. Let's hit next. Let's see what pops up here next. Oh, cool. There's an asset. All right, power corrupts. All right, what do you see here? I see this Nicole Simpson chick, right?
What is it? Play this card at any time. It requires action by either the Illuminati or criminal groups with a total power equal to the resistance of the target group. Add bonuses for its closeness to the Illuminati if it belongs to a rival. The target group becomes permanently criminal. Keep this card with a link to the target. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely is the famous quote. That could be many scenarios actually playing out throughout my 50 years of life. A rich guy and
Marilyn Monroe.
What looks to be a prostitute sitting on his desk as he's counting money.
Basically,
right?
Marilyn Monroe type figure, dude. I think.
Well, and even what happened
and
with
Nicole
Trump,
Smith.
Yeah, Trump and the porn star.
Which one?
Right?
Which one?
It's interesting, right? This is a pattern.
Male mania? You're not talking about male mania, are you?
I don't know what that is.
His current abomination.
This is like mansplaining.
I don't know what it's like. I just I know
Anti-man?
whatever that thing is, it's an abomination of the human,
Right.
of the human form created by nature. I know that.
So
That much I can tell you.
what are they implying there? Power corrupts. Are they using a prostitute, much like Operation Climax, the CIA?
Yes, I
Using.
believe the women are used to get certain things, blackmail,
Mhm.
obviously, because
Right.
most of these people are typically married. They're people of influence and power and have
Yeah.
children, have positions that, would probably frown upon a public. They know stuff happens in the background. It would be the frowning of a public exposure of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So maybe
And
that's that.
yeah, and that stuff comes out into the narratives like they are literally playing a card, right? When you
Yeah.
look at the Trump thing and with the prostitute, whatever her name was, all of that just kind of came out of nowhere, and it lasted for, I don't know,
Oh,
6 months.
no, it didn't. No,
Stormy
hold on, bud.
Daniels is all we heard for 6 months.
No. It didn't come out of nowhere. This guy's been under like many of these sieges throughout his career.
Well,
Him
no,
and
I mean,
the
yeah,
prostitutes attacking him. This has been a
well,
nonstop thing since since I could remember.
right.
Yeah,
Well, this is a tactic that everybody's employed all the way back to Machiavellian,
correct.
probably,
Otherwise,
right?
the players would never be in position.
Yeah, and it works. Therefore,
Yep.
they use it all the time, and
I think
so
this next one's gonna
it's
be
hard to
exciting.
overcome lust as an addiction, or to it would be very tough to overcome a woman, you know, uh, propositioning you.
Yeah.
This is one of the toughest things for a man probably to uh, not get involved in, right? So that's how I look at that. That is massive power there by using
Also,
the
it should
female.
be noted, I mean, looking at this woman, boss, I see a male chin, I see male shoulders,
Hmm. Hmm.
I see male legs,
Male legs,
I see a
totally, dude.
freaking wig, boss. So we may be talking,
Yep.
some type of whatever
Yeah.
transgenders going on there, which we know is actually true amongst the elite. They do
Hmm.
fancy themselves.
That could
That's
be
why I said male mania. When you brought up
right.
Trump, Melania, whatever her name is, that was born dude all day
Right.
long.
Right.
That's gone through just a tremendous amount of hormone therapy from a very early age. That's really what it comes down to. And we see this. There are many cases, you can Google this, where you see people doing hormone therapy from a young age, and a born male actually, you could not tell the difference. You simply
Yeah.
could not tell the difference after all the hormone
Sure.
therapies have been
And a
complete.
lot of that stuff is just in our foods and in the water and all of
They add it.
the
They add it. They
food.
definitely do. But I mean, people take it to the complete extreme, obviously, and they actually, change their structures to resemble that of whatever lives. I don't know, man. Let's move on to the next card, though.
Yeah, Plague of Demons is interesting, or NATO. Both of those
Let's go to Plague of
pretty
Demons
pertinent.
right there. I
Huh?
like that. The capital, Plague of Demons.
Yeah.
It's
So what are we talking about there? It's a
what do
disaster.
we? Yeah, it's a disaster, boss. There's
Instant
nobody
attack to
playing.
destroy any
There's
place that
nobody in
depicts
the capital playing for Team America. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Playing for Team America, Team Common Sense. Team used to be like, people that did the Pledge Allegiance to the flag, one nation under God type thing.
Mhm.
Obviously, God out of the question, boss. When you got demons, you ain't got God.
So this is really like plague may not necessarily mean
An
disease
epidemic.
narratives
It just
or
means
or
a
pandemic.
lot of
Yeah,
demons.
it
It
just
means
means
everyone's
yeah,
playing for the other side.
right. So we see a lot of that today.
Well,
And
let's read
and
it.
this is, people say that, on our side they'll say that those people are satanic or that they're they're supporting Luciferian ideas and have no idea. And this is probably what this card is
Yep.
talking about.
I I would make a reference, but we're not gonna. So let's
Yeah.
move on to NATO.
Yeah. Yeah. And look at NATO violent. And NATO is not supposed to be necessarily violent. This is a This is an organ of the United Nations, which is supposed to be
Why are you
a
making NATO
peacekeeping
violent?
group.
What do you
Pardon?
mean NATO's violent? I
Well,
see
they're
straw man fallacy. I see Americans posting up NATO to do
yeah,
NATO. NATO is doing the bidding of whoever America's working for. That's what I
yep,
see.
exactly, and that's what's going on right now in the
And it seems
Ukraine.
like it's an
NATO,
international force, but it's really not. It's working for whoever that is,
it's a
whoever's
it's a
pushing the strings there.
it's the moral force of law. It's the enforcement mechanism on whatever ideology that they have, and so under the guise of an international movement, less people are going to have a problem with it. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, this is, we get into the Atlanticist ideology.
Definitely some things going on here. I see straw man fallacy. Definitely they're pushing a Soviet Red Star looking type. And the NATO is being propped up as the communists. Look, communism,
Yep,
red
yep.
star.
See
Okay, so
that?
this is the Russian,
Hey,
but they got him on a stick, and they're like, "This is our boy.
yep.
Vote for our boy. This is our boy.
Well,
Vote for our boy."
this is like McCarthyism, right? They're holding up communism as the antithesis to American lifestyle, when it's actually, like we covered on the last podcast, it's internationalism and NATO, right? The two guys in the military suits that are your enemy, not the straw man that's dressed as a commie that they're pointing to. This is exactly what's going on today, right now. They're playing this
There's a number
card.
of ways
You're
to see this
57.
card, though. There's a
Yeah,
number of ways to see this stuff. You have to have prerequisite information because otherwise you can't put it together.
right.
All right, what do we got with NASA here?
Like those old KISS cards, man. When you got all the KISS cards and you put them all
We did NASA
together,
last
on the
time?
back it created a giant poster.
I think we did NASA last time, right?
Uh, Probably.
I mean,
We could
look,
do a whole show
government.
on
Look, I
that.
could just here's the bottom of it. Let's sum it up from start to finish. 2 words at the bottom: government, space. All right, moving on.
Right. To control the mind regarding space.
International
Oh,
communities.
look at this.
Oh
Right.
man, I can't wait. I can't wait.
This is beautiful. International communist conspiracy. This is what
Oh
we're talking
shit,
about.
dude. Yo, we just opened up a can of worms. All right, what
I
do we
love
got
it.
here? Ketchup is a vegetable. Infiltrating government positions. Your agents have deliberately announced stupid policies undermining undermining public trust.
Yeah.
Well, that one speaks for itself, bud.
And that's incredible because ketchup is made from a fruit. So I think that's what they're saying there. Right?
That's what they're saying. They're saying they
Yeah.
can call it whatever they want. As
Yeah,
long
they
as
can
they got
call it.
someone pumping it down your throat, you'll
Yeah.
believe whatever you're told.
And
Coke's
ketchup,
a Coke. No, it's a Pepsi today.
right? And ketchup, an interesting thing to use here because what do we know about ketchup? It's
Yeah,
slow moving, right? Takes a
right. You
while.
say, and also get this. You say tomato, I say tomato. All right. This
Mhm.
is
Sure.
this has already been intermingled into our lexicon. So
Totally.
therefore, it's a card that plays very easily. It's totally self-explanatory. Requires no decode, no prerequisite. It's as obvious as can be. Let's see if we can find anything else there. We've got 23 varieties. I believe that's like Heinz. Don't they say something like that? Right? The ketchup bottle.
Yeah.
They say it's like how many varieties of tomatoes, right?
Right.
Why would they list the 23 varieties? Why is 23 varieties so important that it's here,
Hmm.
right?
Because there's multiple ways that you
What's
can.
Michael Jordan's number?
23, 45.
It's 45. So
Well,
what's
23, but later in his career it was 45.
oh, but it was 23 at the start.
23 is his, yeah. 23 is
Okay,
his.
so we know 23 is an occult number. If they're deploying the number 23, it's encoded. It's important.
So
They
what are
use
they
numbers, huh?
are they implying there that there's several ways we can play that card and
Well, no,
that we
there's
need
just
to
more
know?
information. We would need to figure out what this 23
Okay.
is there. Why do they have 23 varieties? There's a reason behind it.
Okay.
Look
So
at my ketchup bottle real quick. Let's see how many.
Jan's off to get his ketchup bottle and we're going to have a look and see what's going on here. The young man with the ketchup in his hand looks a lot like Averil Harriman.
Hey, prima
Like
facie,
an establishment.
57 varieties, okay? They said
Um,
23.
What?
They said 23 here, but it's 57 varieties. 57 is the actual number.
Right. Heinz 57.
57 is the actual number. Okay. They
Right.
say 23 here. Why? They know they could have just put 57. It would not have been no copyright infringement there.
Yeah.
You know what? 23 is an occult number. That's why, bro.
Yeah.
23 is an occult number. And I bet you if you do like a gematria on ketchup is a vegetable, the 23 is going to start playing a part. You're going to need that to finish the decode.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because as a farmer, man, so many people make that mistake and think that tomatoes are vegetables. I'm constantly reminding people it's a fruit.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the difference. I thought it was a vegetable. I mean, I knew that, but when I saw this, I obviously knew that the
Yeah.
dig was up.
Yeah.
Even I was tricked.
Right.
Simple man. Info ban. I like that.
The info bond,
Info ban.
like the
Info bond.
autobahn, like a
Autobahn.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
but this looks like an information highway. That's what it looks
yeah,
like. It's
yeah,
some
yeah.
kind of an information highway. So we're talking high speed information highway. Let's remember this was written in 95, and I wouldn't bet if they were working on this for years before. So we would say from 90 to 95. I think this was introduced 93 lightly. And there was an existing game in the 80s similar to this.
Yep.
So, this was working off of an original game anyhow. So, this could be some form of,
What's the weird object there?
looks like a CD disc. It looks like a CD disc drive with a reader. The CD disc drive. That's what I see. There's also it could be a bifiller coil, which is a Tesla coil that creates eddy currents and steals eddy currents. And kind of like it's pretty neat because it creates an additional, it uses energy. Like you could light some small source of power from it while stealing. Like that's what eddy currents are, like when you have inductive heating.
Right.
Induction is done via eddy currents, and that's done, they're stimulated via very high voltages and high powers. So this happens at low voltages, this bifiller coil. This kind of looks like a bifiller coil, all right? Interestingly enough.
So who's this imposter? The next card here, imposter. What is this?
If you ask me, that's Biden all day long, dude. Most people are speculating that Biden is not human, that he's a clone, because we remember the original Biden was falling apart like 10 years ago already. And by the time they figured up to prop him up for presidentship, the question whether he could actually be a president was a very strong question.
Yeah, Biden was labeled a plagiarist back in the 90s.
Well, no, he was like already in
unabashedly-
trouble with dementia 10 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
So the fact that he was able to put the words together, like he could barely put together sentences before the election, before like that he was even considered
Yeah.
for a position, right?
Well,
He
when I
barely put words together, and then all of a sudden he was putting together sentences. Sure, they didn't make sense, but he was putting together sentences.
well, when I heard that he was running for president, I thought it was a joke because
Yeah,
he's so
that was a bigger joke than
senile.
Trump. That was a bigger
How-
joke than Trump. Exactly, he's completely senile.
How can the American public take this seriously?
Bob Dole, remember Bob Dole?
Yep.
I think Bob Dole is one of those motherfuckers that's like 78 years old. Oh, go be your president. He's already showing the V's in the back,
Yeah. The only reason he wasn't president is probably because he snap showed all the time. He'd snap at people.
Yeah.
And so they need a fatherly figure, not a.
Well, didn't Biden do that too?
Yeah.
Meltdowns.
Sure. Yeah.
Because he's pretty much wrong. Because Biden's always just been a tool. Everybody knows that. Even before this impossible card was played.
Absolute tool of the trade.
Yeah, he's an absolute traitor.
And actually, that's what I said in one of my articles. Tool of the traders.
Yeah,
they're tools of the traders.
Yep, tools of the traders. Correct.
Now this is the
and
one.
just use correct them both ways.
Yeah. Now here's the one I really want to get into here. The
Hey,
international.
what are you
Communist
getting all
conspiracy.
excited there,
This is
Sickle and
really
Hammer
cool.
Canada boy?
This is
What, you
awesome
gonna beat up
because
on Lenin?
this is what just in the last month I've discovered is that this communist conspiracy really is just a cover up for the international movement and this
Correct.
infusion of
Oh,
the
no,
United
it's the other way
Nations.
around. The communists, the international movement is a cover for the communists. The
They call it
communists
all kinds
realized
of things.
their system, it was fanatic. It was too aggressive. So they needed to go into a more subvert. You know, they needed to win by subversion.
And hey, if people don't think that Lenin was in cahoots with the Americans, you got another thing coming
Yep.
because
His
they
name
were
wasn't
going
Lenin.
off,
How about that?
they were going off to meet him during the Paris Peace Conference in 1919. Special secret
Oh, yeah.
missions were going
We
off to
found a
meet the
name.
Bolsheviks, figure out what was going on. Seriously, directly with
Well,
Lenin.
that's why they had to change their names, boss. His name wasn't Lenin.
Yeah,
Neither was Stalin's name Stalin. No,
no,
nobody's name was what it was born with.
no.
It
This is
was
one pattern we see in a lot of this.
everybody. Same
Yeah,
thing with everybody, dude.
yeah.
None of these people got
Regardless,
their names.
everybody almost has a fake name in all of
No,
these
it's
important
called
figures that
second
we're
name.
uncovering.
They have a legitimate way to call it. It's like a second credit name, SEC
Yeah,
or something like that,
sure.
SCN.
So it's like
Secondary
actors,
credit number. Yep, secondary
stage
credit number.
name. A what?
Secondary credit number, it's called SCN.
That's the when they have a second name.
Yeah, it creates a second corporate entity where you get a whole nother set of numbers. That your social security no longer identifies you. You're
Right.
like identified as a tax ID, but not as a LLC. It's a tricky thing. Something we'd be interested in, buddy, because it allows you to tap like $600,000 worth of credit right off the bat.
Right. So for me, I find that interesting, an international communist conspiracy. You know, they were using the same books to influence their society, put all of their people into factories, just the same as was going on in the United States at the same time, right? But we don't hear about this. The principles of
The assembly
scientific
line.
management. And the interesting thing about that is the principles of scientific management was written by Frederick Winslow Taylor, and the factory system was overhauled. This is about efficiency, the efficiency movement, and making the worker the most efficient when working with machines. And so this we think of here as the Industrial Revolution, but it affected the entire world. And so Trotsky, Lenin, Stalin all looked at the principles of scientific management as an important book. And so they borrowed from it, they used it to create their factory system that's exactly the same as what we see in America.
Yeah,
Except we have
it should be
one's
should be
called
noted.
one's called a democracy, one's called a communist country, but they're the exact same thing.
Yeah, they're working off of the same principles.
Yes,
It should be
absolutely.
noted as to what we are taught in school when it addressed this industrial revolution. From when I remember
Yes.
all the way to high school level, and when we did the depth of it was this: Henry Ford created the assembly line. There
Well,
you
the
go.
assembly
There's
line.
your industrial, and then Edison too. You get Edison invented the light bulb, which
Well,
we
hey,
back now is not
the
technical anymore.
assembly line comes from Frederick Winslow Taylor's book.
Right.
And
But what I'm
so,
saying is that's not what we're told in school.
oh yeah, absolutely not. No, yeah, we're
We're
told in school that
told
it's Henry
it
Ford.
starts with Henry Ford and ends with Henry Ford, and then
Yep.
Thomas Edison, and then some light bulbs, some basic things, and that's it. You're out of the Industrial Revolution. The only thing you remember out of high school for the Industrial Revolution is Henry Ford and the assembly line.
Yep, that's
That's
it.
about all you're going to get.
Yep. And nobody's ever heard of Frederick Winslow Taylor, even though
No,
Taylorism,
oh, come on, dude. It's a no history
yeah,
book
even
ever.
though his work is
Except
so influential that they just call it Taylorism, and it's a fact, Jack, that this is what created our factory system. And so the one last thing I might want to say here is that Trotsky spent 4 months in New York just before traveling back to Russia to overthrow the government, and he was hanging out at the New York Public Library. And I haven't been able to make any connections yet, but Walter Lippmann's hanging out there, all these guys that we've been looking into and exploring, they're there too. So, Trotsky's a journalist, a a credited journalist.
And much like
He's,
Churchill.
he's living in New York and he's writing articles for a socialist magazine, and nobody really has a problem with it until he goes on his way to Russia and gets stopped in Halifax, put in jail for a while, and then the U.S. government, probably Woodrow Wilson, said let him go because he was a part of this was all part of the plan, this international conspiracy that we call communism. So yeah, there's 3 more cards there. They're
Just
full
in
of all
case you
kinds
wanted
of
a little something more to
tricks.
say, there's plenty of room to say it.
So hey, we're just describing a card game here.
Yeah.
You know, when we
Yep.
when we start seeing
Mhm.
cards, why is it the Fred Birch Society? Is that just a play on John Birch Society? They can't they can't actually call it what it is.
Well, they can call it whatever they want. That's what they went with. Well,
Well,
you
okay,
got
so it's
you don't
it
call
says
everything for there. That's not been. They don't say everything exactly as it is, right?
yeah,
There's always some little changes, right?
yeah. But the John
It's
Birch
truth
Society
and,
was
and lies mixed together, right?
yeah, but the John Birch Society was around long before this card game, and so for them to use Fred there is kind of interesting. Why? I mean, it's conservative. It says in the bottom left-hand corner that's exactly what the Fred Birch Society is considered to be, as a right-wing vast conspiracy, right? When a lot of that is absolutely documented historical fact.
Card game. The most
But it
important thing is
right,
that they're mentioned here, right?
and so
We didn't forget it.
and
We didn't
the other side uses the John Birch Society card against me a lot. Of I talk about American foreign policy and PNAC and these actual things that are happening in the world, and they'll just say, "Get out of here with your John Birch Society crap." And so it's the equivalent to the conspiracy theorist label.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's read Israel.
Yeah.
There's +8 on any attempt to control the Mossad. Israel has sympathizers everywhere. Israel can interfere in any attack, regardless of alignment,
Hmm.
even if it was privileged. That negates the privilege. It's a
Wow.
violent government and a coastal nation.
And it being clearly understood, if we wanted to read the Balfour Declaration from 1917, that they are not to interfere with the resident uh, natives of that country. It says it right in the 2 paragraphs, or the 1 paragraph that is the Balfour Declaration.
How'd that work out?
It being clearly understood is the exact language there, people, that they aren't supposed to be screwing with the Palestinians that already existed there yet. This Palestinian-Israeli conflict, the Middle Eastern conflict, this fighting over the same square foot underneath the Golden Dome is really the cause of a large percentage of our world's problems. And I'm not blaming Israel. I'm just saying there's 2 stories to every fight, and we don't usually hear the other story. And I would say this, that Israel is very obviously the instigator there.
Yeah, but look at what Israel did to its own people under the
Against the
whole
Palestinians, I mean.
COVID-19. You know,
Yep.
you want to talk about mandatory, bro? They were
Yep.
military state mandatory.
Yeah, and then they made major mistakes. If you want to listen to the news, they also sort of brought out the narrative that vaccines aren't completely safe and effective. You know, more so on the latter term, effective, because we were seeing all kinds of people in Israel still getting sick despite having their injections. So that narrative started in Israel too.
So we got this gay activist. I almost see like the boy charm there. The FBI boy charm that you would see.
Oh yeah,
Um,
little
you got all
trend
your
over
obvious
here.
stuff here. I mean, this is a big deal, right?
Socialist
This
fist.
whole
Look at that
what are they?
socialist
What's
fist.
this? Yeah, hey, what's this movement called? This movement had a name. Um, the transgender movement, LG. That's it.
LGBTQIA.
That's what it's referring to.
Yeah,
This is what it's referring to. LGBT, right
yeah.
here.
So that again is a Marxist
Absolutely.
tool, and what
Just like
Walter Lippmann
BLM.
called them, what Walter Lippmann called these kinds of activities was the entering wedge. So he presented it as an ideology that got in between 2 and wedged it, like when when you're cutting wood, you need
It's
to use
divide
that
and
wedge to
conquer.
get in there and split the two. That's
That's
exactly
the
how
divide
he
and conquer
explains these
technique,
things.
right?
Pardon?
Divide and conquer technique.
Yeah. And Walter Lippmann openly talks about all of it in his books that he wrote 100 years ago, but nobody reads them. But they are fascinating to understand. He reveals a lot because he grew up in that milieu. He was born into um, preference. He was born into the elite society. He went to school at Goldman Sachs. So he talks about all of these things being entering wedges, and they're all social reform, social justice, egalitarian, equal, social equity, all of those
Or
things.
selling one thing to try to deploy another.
Yeah, and so we're talking about unattainable ideals, the noble lies that are involved in,
Noble lies. That's a good way to put it, man.
well, this is how they involve
Right.
the upper percent. This is how they brainwash the managers of society, the doctors and lawyers, because they present this all as a noble lie that our world, this utopia, they present a utopian lifestyle as their promise, and utopia means nothing, literally. So,
Well, it does. It means quarantine. Their idea of utopia is less under quarantine, bud.
right.
Right?
Yeah, there you go,
Put your
epidemic.
masks
So,
on there, bub.
and none of
Get
this
your
is even
injection.
proven. I mean, we can talk about the Spanish flu being originated from a military base, the same as the 76 swine flu. So this epidemic, this whole theory of viruses going epidemic, I don't know.
I tell you what I know. Here's what I see. Get your mask on, get your quarantine, get your shot, end up in a body bag.
Yep. Yeah. I'm glad you find so much enjoyment out of
Gets
that.
them every time.
So, hey, what does it read there? I can't quite read under quarantine. What is it? It says disaster.
Yeah. Oh, God, disaster. This is an attack to destroy any place. It does not require even an action. Its power is 14. This is not an instant attack, obviously. Other groups can interfere normally. If the attack succeeds, the target is devastated. The attack cannot actually destroy the target, though. Yes, it just puts us on our knees. When I
Yep.
say humanity's on its knees, everyone's like, nah, dude, we good. It's going to be normal soon.
Yeah, that's a very interesting card there for sure.
Yeah,
We've got the masks, and what is that? Alcohol or cleaning material?
disinfectant. Disinfectant.
Disinfectant. Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy? And look at the Red Cross. So we can chase the Red Cross all the way back to the Rosicrucians. For the Knights Hospitaller, that logo right there.
Oh yeah, you throw that up
And
anytime
tested.
there's about to be a sacrifice. Throw that puppy up in the air.
Yep.
They
It's
like
front
that.
and center in
Remember,
Paris.
yeah, during COVID, remember how they put the ship Mercy and the other ship on the other side there? The
Yep.
both Red Cross ships, but nobody
Yep.
ever stepped foot on them, did they? Nah.
Right.
Why
Yep.
were they there? Well, who knows? That's because it was about to go down. It was the two pillars, the two
Mhm.
Masonic. In the middle was the American checkerboard, a sacrifice. Let the sacrifice begin.
Yep. And they
That's what that
often
was.
Yep, and they'll use the Red Cross as a front group because it gets into places that, maybe a diplomat or a politician can't. And so that, within the Red Cross is all kinds of intelligence, you know, missions going on that,
Yeah.
even those that are participating aren't aware of.
Oh yeah.
And that's
Right.
really why the Red Cross was created.
Oh, look, we got the flat earthers.
So, hey, I've got about 10 minutes and then we got to get going. So,
Yeah, okay. So we can
let's
close it
cover a
out
couple
whenever we're
more and
ready.
yep.
We can do these 4 cards and we'll blow out of here.
We could skip right past that flat earthers as much as I'd like to get into it.
Oh, all right. Let's go to flying. Oh, wait. Let's go
Not
to
the flying
huge
saucers.
deviation. And we move on to flying saucers.
I just see this is one of the things that flying saucers we really can't prove. We've got unidentified flying objects, but to start talking space and stuff, I need some personal knowledge to start knowing things, and I haven't been
Well,
in a spaceship
fortunately, they
myself.
made this no space. They said flying saucer, unique gadget, artifact. It says nothing about no space anywhere. It
Right.
says nothing about any alien or nothing. It actually says
unique gadget.
that it's like an Illuminati property, is what it is.
It's an Illuminati prop for
Yeah,
sure.
this vehicle was found buried in a cornfield in Idaho. It will take a small number of people anywhere in the world undetectably within an hour. Linked to personality, the
Time
flying
machine.
saucer gives him +10 against any attack to destroy or assassination. It is captured or destroyed if he is left unlinked as property of the Illuminati. The flying saucer lets you make an automatic takeover of one extra resource card each turn, provided you discard your top undrawn plot card in exchange. It's kind of weird, but it seems like this is like personal property to a player.
Yeah, so
It's
if
not
you're in imminent danger, you can jump in your flying saucer and be anywhere
correct.
in the world in an hour. It's like a
That's what it
cloaking.
says.
Yeah.
Undetectably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a the way it would make sense that the military industrial complex that is known to be 45 to 65 years ahead of your highest commercially available gadget. So
Mhm.
it's not to say that 65 years ago they didn't already have them. Okay,
Mhm.
it's very possible that just after World War II, they really started to put that technology together. You had Operation Paperclip. You had a lot of stuff happen down that, you had the Vril Society, you had all the occultism that was going on behind the Nazi narrative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. That actually
There
came
was
to
some serious
America,
shit
and
going on there.
that's how we allegedly got to the moon, was with the help of Nazi scientists through Operation Paperclip.
Yep.
More documented historical fact that may be shocking to some, but I would imagine most of our viewers know all of that. That's an interesting
Right.
card, flying saucer.
Yeah. They're all
What do you
interesting
make of that?
cards.
So
Yeah.
let's go to evil geniuses and then
For
maybe
a
end
better
on United
tomorrow.
Nations.
Evil geniuses for a better tomorrow.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
And look at,
Yeah.
they're wearing the white coat,
Yeah.
and I'm looking for the stethograph,
Stethoscope.
stethoscope
Yeah.
around.
Well,
Usually
no.
they're
We're
carrying them
talking
around their.
future. So instead of a stethoscope, he has this prod that has two
Oh,
prongs on it, and
yeah.
in between there's an arc,
Looks
arc
like a
of light.
shocker or a
Exactly what it
taser.
is. And his homeboy there
Taser.
has got his hands like, yeah, we
Yeah,
got the shotgun. Look
yeah.
at him, boy.
And is he putting on his rubber gloves or has he got them on already?
No, he's got him on. I think he's just rubbing his hands in
He just can't
anticipation
wait.
of all the suffering you're about to take on. And they both look like they're going to put a hurting on you, boy.
Yeah. And the
They
three
look
words at
like
the
they into
bottom:
it.
science, violent, and weird.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And then, what was I going to say? Yeah, what was that thing they said? Oh, Schwartz, right? Your UN chief of staff or whatever,
Yep.
the head guy. He says, "Hey, you'll own nothing and be completely
Klaus.
happy,"
Yeah,
right?
Klaus Schwab. Yep.
Something like that,
Yeah, World
right?
Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, he says, by 2030,
Yeah,
you'll
Klaus,
own nothing and be happy. And that
right,
again is actual fact, people.
right.
This is
So there's these guys who are working in the background, these evil geniuses. And this could be maybe someone along the people say Gates is one of these.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's the Fauci's one of these guys.
Yeah, and
Uh,
you can replace evil geniuses with technical expert,
or just evil.
right? But this is really where we are today, the reliance of the technical expert for a better tomorrow, build back better.
That's it. That's it. That's it. There you go. It's the appeal to science, right?
Yep, the technocratic
There's
movement. Yep,
appeal
this
to
is
science.
this again, along with the Federal Reserve, is one of the major pillars of our slavery. This reliance on the expert removes us from the source of information so that we really don't know what's going on, and we rely on people that have vested personal interest in the outcomes of things that have no interest in our safety or our health as a people. Now, this is the
Well,
problem. We have to get past that gate or barrier that they put up to find the primary source material to make decisions for ourselves. And when we don't do that, we can be taken advantage of entirely, absolutely, like we are seeing today. So
So
maybe,
the last one there, one
yeah,
more.
yeah, let's do one more, and then
It's an interesting one.
I think we're definitely over half an hour at this point.
We're at 1 hour.
Are
It's
we?
Eat the Rich. It says
Eat the
Eat
rich?
the Rich. Yeah. Eat the Rich.
Yeah, and so this is something that I'm currently, you know, coming to grips with, this eat the rich phenomenon. And
That
is
they
it
want
something
to.
that we should be really chasing? You know, early in my engagement with our political world, the eat the rich was one of the, you know, one of the mantras that, or one of the symptoms that we see in our society that shows this wealth gap. And I'm not sure if we should be attacking the rich or not. That's what I'm trying to say. Obviously, the wealth gap is an issue, and it's led to all kinds of things.
This is
But this image of putting the rich on a plate with an apple, and he's in ropes, and we're about to eat him. I mean, we should tax them for sure, right? But is being rich a symptom of capitalism that we need to rid ourselves of? I don't think so. I think it's, once we started corrupting the entire system by monopolizing it, or Morganizing it is what they call it after J.P. Morgan. I think once we started to distort or pervert our capitalism, and this is going from a place of ignorance, okay? That's what I'm saying here, that I don't entirely know this situation. This is a place that I'd love to explore more. But
uh,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
wary. I'm wary to eat the rich. I think that, you know, in a capitalist system, we should be allowed to make as much money as we want. I don't think that you or I have ever lived in a laissez-faire market. And I think, honestly, after reading Adam Smith and, delving into it a little bit, I think that I do believe at this point that a fair, open market can control itself. Now, this would also help in understanding that progressivism and this move to the Federal Reserve was a reliance on the exact opposite of that. So, I'm still collecting data, still considering that information. It's a very Marxist idea, right? Das Kapital. So, yeah, I mean, we should definitely be taxing them because, we could tax one of them and we would solve a lot of issues for sure.
Yeah. So the only thing I'd like to say is that I think this is a play on let them eat cake. It's
Right.
the other way around. It's the same psychological attack, but it's the other way around. You remember when they went in, I think it was Marie Antoinette in
Yeah.
France? And
Yeah.
she said it was
Let them
sometime
eat
in the
cake.
1700s. French was falling apart and it was, coming into revolution. There wasn't bread. There was nothing for nobody. And she was just could care less. And she said, "Hey, I don't care. Let them eat cake." So this is kind of the same. So it was the rich attacking the poor, and here it's kind of inverted, but it's the
Yeah, that's
same.
absolutely
I
opposite.
think it's the same idea. It's just obviously inverted. It's the opposite way now.
And it
But
may be,
that's kind of what I see.
and this card says carefully orchestrated the media. You create an insane groundswell of anger, blaming the wealthy and powerful for everything. See, and now
Right.
this is what they
Let them
want. They
eat
want
cake,
class
right?
warfare. And this card may be played by any media group, which
That's
makes an
what I think.
attack to destroy against a group with a power of 6 or more. So this is going after larger groups in your society by using the media to create a narrative that may be false or not, against pitting the Politburo, the proletariat, against the bourgeoisie, right? Against the rich.
Yeah.
And so, on the surface, I got no problem with that, but we got to be careful not to tear down our entire systems. This is the one thing where nuance gets entered, and we can't necessarily think, in a binary way here.
Yeah, think about the BLM movement, how that started getting violent, and you just had groups of colored folks going into rich neighborhoods and just attacking.
Yeah.
You know, this was
Yeah.
one of their MOs.
That was a big story too.
Yeah,
The couple that came out of their mansion with their
that's right.
guns, right?
That's
Like,
right. So this is a big MO for any play being played. So this is
you've frozen, brother.
like crazy. We both farms to get to.
You're roboting.
We're going to later.
Can you hear me?
Amazingly, I can.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit. I didn't get what you said there.
Yeah, well, why don't you just close her down, man?
Yeah, can we finish on the United Nations quick? I just want to see that card. I want to see what it
Sure,
says. It's right
sure.
below.
Yeah,
And
I
then we'll get
gotta
out of here.
share screen again. Sound.
I don't know why you roboted, but for about
No, I've
30
been losing
seconds.
it here.
I could edit that, but I'm not gonna. Doesn't matter.
Right there. That one?
I'm just seeing you and I here. Have you shared screen?
Yeah.
There it is. I got black though. It takes a little bit here for some reason. There we go.
It-
No, not the NATO. So it was one row below the last thing that we talked about. There, right at the bottom right-hand corner. See that United Nations card?
This one?
Yep.
All right. What do
Gives
you got?
+6 on any attempt to control any nation. Its power counts ×5 when giving relief. So here's this humanitarian,
Yep.
right? And the road to hell can be paved with good intentions.
Yep.
And devil's in the details, all of those sayings. And liberal is the card, which totally
Hey,
makes sense.
look at the white monocle yelling over into Africa. And remember the Fabius window? The white man molding Africa and Asia,
Yep.
right? So here it is
Yep.
playing out.
Yep.
Because that's the Fabians are behind the whole, humanitarian styled subversion technique.
Yep. Yep. And we're talking about the white man's burden here, we see too, right? This has inspired the Anglo-American establishment. Rudyard Kipling
That's why he's got the monocle. That's
wrote,
what it
yeah,
says. That's
sure.
what the monocle says.
Yeah.
Anglo-American. Right there, bud.
It
That's
sets you in
exactly the
time
meaning of that monocle.
because nobody today wears monocles. Only back in the day they did. So that's really what they're showing is the creation of the United Nations. And we go back all the way to 1917 for the creation of that. And so it's the white man's burden to assist all of the backwards races. These are this is the verbiage that they use into a global liberal minded group think. This is what they were going for. They openly talk about it. So what's the woman in the middle?
She's a listener. She looks like she's the one that sits there at court and listens and writes. When in court you have the person that takes down all the information as it goes up.
Yes.
She's the minute keeper there. She's the minute keeper,
Right.
I think.
Right.
This is like an official meeting. And when you have an official meeting, you have this person that takes the official minutes of everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she looks like she's that. So that also says that it's an official meeting. So they're not two opposed sides. That could mean it's just a corporation meeting.
And a lot of anger there. You don't see
Could be
two
fake,
people
though.
coming to terms there, do you?
No,
You
I
see
think
two
it's fake
arguments
anger, though.
and people caught in the middle.
Yeah.
It almost looks like she's got a headache.
Yeah, it could be, but
And-
she's got something going in her ears, dude. And then
Yeah.
the other ear's got nothing in it.
Yeah.
She's, there's no string there. So she's some kind of a watchdog, maybe.
It's very interesting.
Well, I'm telling you, I think what it is It's a play. It's a stage, is what it is. It's showing that it's a stage.
Yep.
Because
United Nations.
ultimately, look, if you have a single record keeper, right, that means it's a single corporate entity. She's taking minutes for the single entity. So so this is just a corporate meeting. Ultimately, it may look like they are in division, but ultimately they're both playing for the same team. That's what I think that might mean.
Hmm. Yeah, this game we should go into a part 3 too because it's very interesting. There's a lot of cards to cover.
We don't have nothing put together. We can jump in there.
Yeah, totally.
There's 400 of these cards. We went through a dozen.
Yeah, totally. And I don't mind throwing these in there when we can, so we'll do
Well,
this
they address
again.
the
We'll do this
subjects. They
again.
address everything.
Totally.
You
Totally.
know.
So we'll see what we got in store for people next Sunday, but it could be
Hold
this.
on real quick.
We'll see. We got 5 days
Boom,
or whatever to work on our next
boom,
podcast.
boom.
And you can see there's a ton of cards there. Weather satellites,
Video games. This is a big one. All the
holsters,
kids are gone.
purses.
We lost all youth. This is where all youth is right now.
Yep.
In the basement, playing the video games right now. That's
Yep.
what they're all doing.
Distracted. Totally distracted by virtual reality.
Yeah,
While reality happens outside their doors in a 3-dimensional
yeah,
fashion.
yeah. They missed that part though.
Yeah. Well, we're going to teach them.
So that's it. Pretty
Yep.
exciting stuff.
Cool, brother. I
Yeah,
appreciate the
man.
time.
Good seeing you. You're off to your farm. I'm off to my farm. We got our
Yeah.
bees yesterday. We got
Right
2
on.
nooks of bees. Last night they came in. My wife brought them, and I got to go set them up. I also have to go start, moving some things around from here to the hoop house. And yeah,
We
it's a
should
lot of work
hey,
right there.
we should talk later about what's going on there. We don't have to do it on air, but we should do a messenger or something and see how your
Yeah,
hoop house is going and
yeah. No, I had more death. The one day got too hot in there, and anything that got the cold last time
Mhm.
got the dead this time.
Really? Well, it's interesting that you and I are in the same zone, 6E, I think, but we're on opposite sides of the continent.
Yeah.
But our frost times, our first and last frost times are very similar.
Yeah,
So,
but the thing is that my zone area, I'm not sure if it counts in the fact that we're like 400 or 500 feet above sea level, and we're always
Mhm.
10 degrees. You go 30 minutes from here, we're 10 degrees different in temperature,
Right.
all day, every day.
Yeah.
When it's 90 degrees just outside of this area,
Yeah.
it's 80 degrees here.
Well,
But
Mother's Day is traditionally when you plant, and that's traditionally when, we
yeah,
plant over here, somewhere around that May
yeah,
long weekend or just
yeah. But
before.
we have to play extra for that, like I said. Like what people are doing a half an hour from here in suburbia, we can't get
Hmm.
off because we have
Right.
that we have when it's 42 over there, we have 32 over here,
Hmm.
and that's a big deal. you
Yeah.
know
And, I would love to be showing people what we're doing at the farm. It's just an amazing thing. It's just,
yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm ready to reveal everything that's going on there. I can say that
but that's
we're
okay in
shooting for
time,
a
man.
75 member food box this year. That's feeding 75 families for 20 weeks of the freshest.
My whole lake community 75 community.
Yeah, I mean, we're building a community here. It's been really cool. I'm getting to know a lot of people, including those that supply chickens and honey, and a lot
Yep,
of people around us that
yep,
are
yep.
like-minded, man.
Bartering, man, bartering
Yeah,
all the
we're doing a
time.
lot of that. We're creating an alternative society in our little world, and we're trying to inform people as to what's really going on all at the same time. So
Yeah, well,
kudos.
when government stepped in and tried to block me from doing stuff on my land, I went to my neighbor and I worked out a deal with them to do it on their land
Right.
where they could not block me.
Yes,
So
and
we
that's how that's
circumvented the
how we
power of the government there.
that's how we have to play this. And kudos to you for doing that, for not taking no for an answer and finding a way because there's always a way.
There is always a way. That is for sure.
All right. So I appreciate your time, Jan. Have a good day.
Likewise. All right,
And
man.
we'll keep in touch. And everybody, thanks for watching,
What's
and we'll
up,
see
man?
you on the next show. Cheers, everybody.